Okay, so it's recording. Cool. Kevin, thank you very much for joining us at Nervous for Newbies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the first time we've spoken, right? So, and I've actually been meaning to talk to you for a while, and the fact that I'm now speaking with you, just, yeah, I feel really grateful for being given this opportunity. And I want to ask, this Nervous for Newbies, as you're aware of, is a channel for people who are getting into Nervous for the very first time. They want to try and understand what it's about, because it's different to, I think, normal blockchain technologies, isn't it?
It,
It's, yeah,
uh, yeah, absolutely. And it's, being a public blockchain, it's, has many components. And we are built a little bit different from other chains, like you said.
yeah. But before we do that, I just want to ask a little bit about you personally, because I always see you talking about, Nervos technology and sort of a token economics, but I never see you talking about yourself. So tell me a little bit more about yourself. Where do you live? Is it California? Is it you in the US?
Yeah, I live in Michigan. I live in
Michigan.
Michigan, in the
Okay.
US. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
And
spring here, very beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah, it
what's
is.
it like at the moment there?
It's Michigan has a interesting weather. Just 2-3 weeks ago, we still had it was still very cold and we had snow, but right now things are everything start to be green, and then it's warm.
Ah,
Rains are coming. So
okay.
it's a lovely time of the year.
You had snow. Are you a skier? Have you skied before?
Yeah, I'm actually a snowboarder, but I haven't snowboarded
Oh,
for many years. But I used to be a pretty fanatic snowboarder.
yeah. I went snowboarding for the first time. I'm 47, by the way. 46, sorry. I'm 46, and I went snowboarding for the very first time with my daughter 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And believe me, it's a painful experience, like just constantly falling down. So
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's
you're
your
well beyond that, aren't you?
yeah. The first several trips will be like that. But after that, I mean, if you get into, if you find your groove, and then it's very enjoyable. It's very nice.
Yeah, but you haven't done it in a while, no?
I haven't done probably in 5 to 10. I can't remember, but probably 5 years.
Yeah.
I used to be like I used to live in Texas at the time, and every winter I would fly somewhere to Colorado, California, yeah, to find snow. Um, yeah, it's a very I enjoyed it quite a lot back then.
Yeah. Did you do? I know I have a friend in Texas, and he says that I think every April they have these rodeos. Did you, where everyone goes, and I'm just
No,
going, but no, do you never
that
know?
was not my thing. No, I never went out into those.
He said it was a lot of fun. He was a typical Texas
Yeah,
guy from Texas, and he was a
yeah,
lovely guy. But yeah, so uh, I met him in Costa Rica. I was in Costa Rica once, and
hmm.
he showed me he had a huge knife collection for some reason.
Oh wow,
Maybe
okay,
it's a
cool.
Texas thing, but yeah. Okay, so all right, so well, thanks so much for sharing that. Do you have a family as well? You
Yeah,
married or
yeah,
yeah,
I'm married.
kids?
Have a 4-year-old boy.
Okay. So let's go on to Nervos specifically. I think we wanted to discuss interoperability, and just to for anyone new to Nervos, could you possibly explain what it is, what interoperability means to Nervos, and in general, what it means in the crypto space?
Yeah, I think I think the concept interoperability, right? I think the easiest way to explain it is probably borrow the um, analogy of the internet. Internet itself is a very interoperable public network, um,
Mhm.
and then that's also the way how we see the blockchain world will become in the coming years. So if you look at the internet, uh, there is actually no one internet, right? So there are heterogeneous um, there are many numbers of heterogeneous networks connected together. That's why it's called internet, right? It's interconnected
Mhm.
networks. Um, but they all they can all interoperable, or they can all, how do I say, they can all interact very seamlessly because they obey the same protocols, the same set of protocols, right? So it's the protocols that make them able to communicate and transact and connect. Um, and from developer point of view, right? Most developers, when you build internet applications, we know web apps and or mobile apps um, that will have an internet backend. Um, what they're essentially programming against uh, are the set of protocols, right? Not the hardware, not the operating system, where the specific soft operating system will be running on, and so on and so forth. They're programming against the protocols. Um, so when we talk about interconnectivity or interoperability, we're basically saying once we have you know multiple networks, how we can make them work together with a set of protocols,
Mhm.
right? And then for the users, I think it's also an important element here as well. Um, in the interoperable environment, you want users to be able to use applications that on the back end connecting to these networks, but for users, they don't feel the difference, right? They just, for them, they're just using applications. So those are the elements that we try to build for the interoperability um, uh, angle for Nervos Network as well. We believe that we can serve as the interoperability layer for the multi-blockchain, multi-network um, world in the for blockchains.
Okay, so if you said you don't want users to feel the difference between using certain networks. So just explain for someone who's completely new to this field how it works at the moment. Why do we need such an interoperability solution?
Yeah. So in the current moment, you have it's interesting we're talking about this now because we're just seeing uh, like a real fragmentation of meaningful fragmentation of the blockchain world because you know um, I think from when Ethereum emerged and maybe until last year, Ethereum was still like the very dominant blockchain. And then when we talk about applications, decentralized applications, or um, uh, Ethereum is essentially synonymous to like the blockchain platform, right? But what we're seeing, I think, starting last year is uh, meaningful alternative networks, and even within the Ethereum ecosystem, right? If you look at all the layer twos, even they're anchored still to Ethereum, but for users, there's still a lot of friction, and for liquidity, they're essentially different networks.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just starting to see that we're emerge of multiple networks, right? Also, Binance Smart Chain, I think, is a recent example for this as well.
Yeah, that's becoming very popular now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's becoming very popular, but when you use applications, it's still very obvious where the application is. You have to say, I want to connect to this network with this set of wallets with um, all the assets are on this network itself. um, so you're still users, I mean, in the past users didn't have to make those decisions because most applications are just on a single network, which is Ethereum. But now users are forced to made aware that, okay, when I interacting with the app, I need to know where the app sits, right? And then what are the assets I can reach, and then what sort of interactions I can do within the context of this network. So again, this is putting back to the internet, um, analogy. Right now, it's as if um, you you have to use a client tool that connect to Amazon's network, and then you have to
Yeah.
know, okay, within this network you can do certain things. You can maybe buy things. You can what else does Amazon do? You can rent videos on Amazon as well. You can buy toys. You can rent videos. But then there are like 10, 15 things you can do within this
Mm.
network. And then once you connect to Google, they sit in different networks, so you have to find another software or even hardware to be able to access to their network, and then they have like a few things you can do there. So you're made very aware that how those things would happen,
So
where it needs to happen.
you have to understand, especially as a new user, what fits with what is compatible with what,
Yeah.
what, yeah.
And
And
yeah, and it's scary, I think, for new users. I think for people, sorry, clear my throat. Wow, can't speak.
do you need some water?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think for new user, this is especially um, challenging, right? Because understanding crypto itself is challenging. Understanding the concept of wallets and accounts is already very challenging, right? Go through that Z phrase and then recoverable keys and all that. I think it's challenging. Um, understand blockchains themselves is already a challenge, and understanding multiple blockchains and then specific applications. There's so many hurdles for people to have to jump through, especially any application would touch on multiple blockchains. You know, moving to a world that to that world, I think will be challenging for users.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, most average users don't really want to understand the technology, do they? They just want to be able to accomplish a certain thing and then move on, right?
Yeah, I mean, they just want to be able to, work with applications, right? So in the context of this app, if I'm interacting with the app, okay, I need to understand what the app does, but don't throw, infrastructure concerns that are not related to the application at me, and force me to go through a number of steps that I have no idea why I'm doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's difficult.
So with regards to where we are at the moment in the blockchain space, so with regards to that interoperability, where actually is the blockchain industry? How are we solving this at the moment? And then after you share that information, I'd like to just ask you what Nervos is doing to address that. So firstly, where are we at the moment with regards to interoperability, and what are the different solutions out there, and perhaps their limitations too?
Yeah, I think currently, I don't think we have good solutions. And it's definitely emerging as a prominent problem, but there are not many good solutions. You know, the prominent solution for interoperability in the blockchain space are probably you can see for Polkadot and Cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think both platforms take a little bit different approach. So what they're saying is, um, if you build networks with our tools, then we can make sure they interact very well, right? So for them, the focus is, how do we get developers and people and users to adopt our set of tools, and then the um, sort of homogeneous, networks that made by these tools, and this is how they can enforce, they can make them interoperable because they know that they're built with the same framework or tools. So within their universe, sure, things can interact. They prescribe solutions that can make them, go seamlessly. But the question is, what about the networks that emerge outside of their networks, right? So, like all the examples we said before, with networks emerging, none of them are, really within their networks, right? Um, so how do you interop with, the Ethereum and other Ethereum, EVM networks? How do you interact with, Binance Smart Chain? Interact with, how do Polkadot and Cosmos interact with each other? Right now, that's not possible, right? Both are interoperability solutions, but then their products don't interact with each other.
So if I wanted, for example, to purchase a Polkadot or dot share and then switch it around to Ethereum and or a tokens on either chains and switch them to get, would that be possible currently?
It's possible, right? So there are tokenized solutions that can help you transfer DOT to Ethereum, definitely. But these are, we have solutions. If you're a user and you're willing to piece together all the solutions that's currently available, technically achievable, that's probably it's probably doable, right? But the set of solutions that make everything easier, I think that's really the key here. And for developers as well, yes, you can also build from scratch everything that needs to be done to make your application interoperable with multiple blockchains. And some applications are doing it, right? So if you look at, for example, Compound, Compound is a DeFi lending application. So they are building their own, and again, the motivation is they want to be able to access to multiple blockchains and multiple users, and then multiple developers helping them to build a Compound ecosystem, right? So that's their motivation. And then their solution is they build their own blockchain that connects to everyone, right? So, uh, what we're trying to build is, and basically they build their own infrastructure to serve their application. Um, and then what we're trying to build is a platform that can just automate all this process. We can build a platform that if you build on top of this platform, then you don't have to build your own infrastructure, right? You can just focus on application. So you don't have to build a compound chain, just build on, build on Nervos, and then you don't have to worry about all these. You get all these for free. Um, and you can also program and parameterize, the how you would connect to the different blockchains and how you attract users and so
on. Okay, so how would that work for the average user doing a sort of cryptocurrency transaction? How would Nervos, using Nervos CKB, help that user? Because I know there is, we're constantly talking in the chats, in the community chats about this and how amazing what the things our Nervos are doing. But just, from the user standpoint.
How you would, eventually how you feel like, you mean?
Yeah. How would it feel like? How would it feel like? What kind of, would it just be like a normal transaction from one, from a blockchain, from one blockchain to another in the same, very simply?
Yeah, I think eventually, the user experience that we want to enable is you don't have to think about blockchains. Blockchains are just technical details, right? Like if you go to Binance, when you trade cryptocurrencies, you're not thinking about blockchains, right? You're trading Bitcoin to USDT. By the way, they're probably not on the same blockchain, right? You're trading ETH with BTC, where they're definitely not on the same blockchain. But do you care? You don't, right? So you just trade against the interface, which is Binance. Under the cover, they do a lot of plumbing to make sure that they can settle right when you withdraw to the right blockchain, the wallets, and everything. And that's kind of I think the analogy that we want to enable in the end for applications. So blockchains are just becoming like specifics. Where do they reside? Just like when you go to Amazon, internet.com. Do you care like which network this is on? Are their servers running on Comcast network, or are they running on they're probably running on their own network, but in the end, it doesn't matter, right? You just go there, buy shoes, right? That's what you want to do. And I think we want to give both developers and users that kind of experience, right? So just like you go to Binance and just to trade. Now, obviously, as a platform, we allow everybody to come build applications, and then there will be use cases much more than just trading, like what you see on. But that's the difference. Binance, they are able to enable that user experience because they're a centralized platform. So they can manage they basically interact within their own servers, right? So they can enable that centralized interoperability, if you will. But we want to open that platform so that everybody can come and build anything. And then, but when users come and use all this, it will be, there will be like Binance type experience, right? So you go there and just, if it's a lending application, all you care about is I'm putting ADA from Cardano and I want to withdraw USDT from Tron, right? So I'm just interacting with assets instead of, I don't have to think about wallets. I don't have to think about blockchains and how do I sign signatures and all that. So yeah, we want to be able to handle all that, just like what Binance does.
So just to completely streamline the user experience so that, like you said, they don't even know there's something amazing going on under the hood.
Yeah, just make it, just make it simple. It will involve a lot of, solutions to abstract those away, both in terms of, I think currently also when people talk about interoperability, there's a lot of focus on cross-chain asset transfer, which is definitely an important component of all this. But there's way more than interoperability than just be able to transfer assets. But yeah, so we will build the platform. Obviously we want to build in iterations as well. So in the beginning, there's definitely cross-chain bridges, transfer assets, and then sort of wallet abstraction and all that. But after several iterations, we want to be able to achieve that user experience.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, how are actually you involved in this interoperability sort of jigsaw? What's your say? What kind of say do you have in this?
What do you mean? Like,
I mean, like, are you the architect of it? Do you manage the sort of token economics, or how specifically are you involved in interoperability? Do you manage the developers, or I'm just curious?
Yeah, so there's a pretty big team, of people that are, making this reality. And then this is also not just, there's both the core team, the so-called core team, as well as people in the community, the building applications, the building solutions, right? I think this is where a blockchain platform, a blockchain product is very different from traditional internet products. The boundary between community and so-called core team is kind of blurry, and we want to keep it that way. We want to invite more people to be part of this development. As for me, I think I mean, my role is more like I wanted to be more like an early user, a facilitator to make all this happen. I wish I could be coding more nowadays, but I just can't find hours in the day to actually do the code.
Were you a big coder when you were younger then?
I still program, but it's very scattered, because to really focus on these solutions, you need big chunks of time and throughout the week and be able to make something happen. We have a lot more better engineers than me.
Is it just because you're out of practice though? Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm trying to avoid admitting that, but
so
it's been a while. Yeah.
So out of I'm just curious, out of all the Nervos team, who's the interoperability expert? Is it Jan? Is he the, because he's the architect, isn't he?
Yeah, so I think Jan is he's more of the architect, and then
Yeah.
look at the. I think we all, it's not just one person that sort of make everything happen. For example, Jen is very um, good on like architecting and systems, low level um, components of the network, how they should fit together, and also draw like a vision of in the future where we should go. Whereas we also have folks that are more focused on user experience,
Mm.
um, focus on the interactions, and then again, there's a lot of moving parts of the system. From um, when you think about assets or user intentions coming from one blockchain to another blockchain. So yeah, so
Mm.
there's a lot of teams working on this.
Okay. So if I was a investor, a brand new investor, and I just, came across this company called Nervos CKB, and you wanted to communicate something about it, and you wanted to share your vision of Nervos, what would you say to me? How would you say, look, this is an amazing blockchain technology that you've got to see? What would you say to me?
Yeah, I think people should probably understand like blockchain in general before we talk about Nervos, right? And again, I've had these conversations when I talk to because of the bull market and Coinbase IPO and a lot of that. A lot of new users come into the place, and then I think it's good to have like a more solid understanding of grounding in the fundamentals first before coming to particular solutions or blockchains. But once they're there, I mean, I think what we're really trying to do right down the road and in the future for the next decade or so is it's I think something like it's an internet-like network, right? So what we believe, the blockchain space and internet has a lot in common, right? Open source, open participation, borderless, and free and all that. So a community based. I think it will probably chart similar territory. So what we want to do is a um, internet-like network, right? So we call that um, engine for the future crypto economy, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I think um, it's sort of like a blockchain-enabled internet. Um, I think that's what Nervos wants to be. Um, and then where we talk about interoperability, where we connect to everyone, and then allow developer to build applications access to everywhere. Um, yeah.
And this is even without using the same framework, like you were saying before, you would, other blockchains, you have to use the same framework, but with Nervos, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, look, I mean, the internet does not have a designated framework, right? The internet does not have one browser that you have to, like, there's nothing called an internet browser. There are many internet browsers. You can access the internet however you want, right? And then, if you look at all the current other networks, everybody has their own browser wallet. Ethereum has its own, wallet standard, and Polkadot, Cosmos. I mean, all the other chains that we talk about have their own browser. You have to use that to be able to access their network. Um, so what we're trying to do is sort of embracing all of them, and then basically any browser, just like a browser, right? Any wallet, any interface is our interface. You can use any of them to access applications. And then for developers, applications built anywhere can run on our network as well,
Mm.
um, which is also important, right? So this is if like for people that are coming engineering background, this is more like you this is the emerge of virtual machines, right? You build something like Java that can run anywhere, and then you can just build applications, provide a compatibility layer. Basically, you don't have to worry about the underlying technology.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so yeah, we want to sit in the middle of all these, and then I think the blockchain world will become an internet-like experience for both developers and users as well.
And that's an amazing thing that, Nervos is trying to do. I think, what it's trying to achieve, the way it's trying to do it, and the fact that it's designed to be ultra sustainable, to last. I've heard, people say Nervos is designed to last lifetimes. So
yeah, probably generations, right? I think just like the internet will last. I don't know how long it will last, probably forever. It's a public infrastructure, right? So we want the public infrastructure just to, and then the more that the more we design to be lasting, the longer lasting it will be, because people will see the mechanisms and design behind it, and then and start to use it and take advantage of these features. Those are important, right? So yeah, we definitely want Nervos to make to be a meaningful piece of infrastructure for the future decentralized world.
Okay, and because of that, it has to have incredibly strong foundations, and building strong foundations that last a long time takes time in itself, right? So it's not something that can be done in 2 months, 3 months. It's a long term. It's a long project.
Yeah, it is, and this is very different from the sort of on the application side. I think the launch cycle has been quite shortened. I noticed for the last several months. But yeah, for platforms, especially for like platform built from scratch, I think it generally requires just a longer term horizon.
Okay, so what are some of the new things that are we going to expect to see from Nervos that we haven't seen before? I know there's Polyjuice, Godwoke, and there's a few solutions that are being developed now. What are we going to start to see them soon?
I think it really depends on when this video is going to be released.
Very soon, I think.
Yeah. So I think we're at. I mean, in my opinion, we're at the time. It's a very exciting time for Nervos, because we're right at the crust that we're starting to see a wave of applications coming and launching. With the availability of Godwoke and Polyjuice, and the layer 2 compatibility, you probably will start to see DeFi products coming. There will be a DEX that I know the community has been talking about that quite a bit, but it should come pretty soon with the launch. And with it, right, so other DeFi primitives, I know quite a few that there are teams building them, and on the sort of user experience side of things, I mean, again, depending on when this video will be released, maybe it's already launched.
Okay.
But it will be pretty soon. Yeah. So people on the NFT side as well, I think there were some exciting things coming up.
Okay. So you mentioned a word that I didn't quite understand. What's a DeFi primitive?
Yeah, DeFi primitive, just like basic building blocks for decentralized finance applications. Right. So, for example, decentralized exchange or DEX, I think that's one of the most basic building block, and lending applications, swaps,
okay,
stable coins. Yeah, I mean, you probably know these.
Okay. All right. Any final thoughts that you want to share with the community, because this is going to go out on the channel, and any
I think that was pretty good to end. I think I feel very optimistic, right? Just I think there's going to be momentum coming. Yeah, it's a good time.
Great. Okay, Kevin, I am super excited to see how this is all going to progress, what's going to happen, and so thank you so much for taking the time out of your super busy day as well. I know
Absolutely.
Everyone always tells me how how little time you have. So thank you so much, and it's
Yeah,
been really
absolutely.
a pleasure to get to know you, and
Yeah,
even just just a little bit on the personal level too. So
yeah,
and
absolutely.
I hope to have a chat with you again at some point.
Yeah, let's do this again some other time.
All right then,
It's been fun. Yeah.
take care.
Okay. All right, Daniel.
Bye
Talk to
bye.
you then.